What's up, guys? I just wanted to introduce Dr. Haad Mahmood, the special guest today. Dr. Haad's been with us for a few months now, and what's crazy, I think, Dr. Haad, is before you joined us, you're actually very skeptical. It took you a couple of weeks to really just take that leap of faith. And what's even crazier is flash forward to now. You're absolutely crushing it. You're converting from ads. You know how to launch your own ads. You've learned so much more. You've leveled up after being burned by agency and agency and just running into all these issues. So with that in mind, why don't you kind of just share your story with us today? So maybe some future people who might be in a similar place to you might be able to understand like what they've experienced and what you experienced specifically.
Yeah. Great summary, Daniel. I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. The biggest thing is my skeptical nature of going into it. I had a bad experience with a prior ad agency that kind of just essentially ghosted me halfway through our operational ad building process. But so it's hard for me to take that initial leap. But when we talked, you really explained everything to me really thoroughly. It was very individualized. I never felt like, just another client. I felt like someone who was a high value client from the beginning, going over everything, what to expect in detail, and then just getting a lot more out of it than I thought. I mean, initially I thought I was just going to be getting ads out of it, but I can go into all the details, but I got a whole lot more than just the ability to build ads and build a funnel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to tell me more about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing that I didn't expect that I was going to get out of this, that I got as a significant added value, that I think, in terms of whatever the cost of my program was, probably several fold higher in value, was the coaching that I got. And I mean, that's probably, I would say, the what sets you apart the most from other ad agencies, or at least the one that I've worked with, but also from what I've heard, is a significant amount of business coaching that I got. I mean, I think as a physician, I don't consider myself to be the most savvy entrepreneur from the business standpoint in terms of business savviness, but you really helped me in terms of kind of not just helping me with ads, but also helping my business in terms of what I need, what's lacking, what's going to help my business grow, how to talk to, prospective clients, how to help build not just your marketing team, but your sales team, how to use your sales prowess to enhance your, landing of actual high value clients, and just a lot of different ideas from the business standpoint of how to better run your business, which I didn't expect that. And that was a huge asset.
Love that. So you mentioned before working with us, you had kind of been burned by an agency or a couple agencies. Like, kind of what was that process like before that?
It was rough because I mean, the worst thing is when you have like an expectation going into something, and then, you end up getting a lot less than what you thought you might get. For example, I was signing up with a contract with this different company that was supposed to last a certain amount long. Halfway through, I pretty much lost contact with them. I never really got any of my, no closure with regards to what we were doing or trying to build together. There wasn't any communication. There wasn't any transparency. All the things that you would expect from someone who's, and again, you're representing your brand. Somebody's taking something that's so dear to your heart and so important to you, and it's a reflection upon you. And if they're doing it in a manner that's reckless or careless, it kind of just reflects poorly on you. And so it just became something that was really difficult to deal with. And I'm glad that I was able to get out of that and find an agency that actually, cares and values their clients.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. So did that make you do a ton of research before wanting to sign up for the offer?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it's funny how skepticism usually leads to research, right? And so the more skeptical I got, the more I started researching, and the more I started researching, I did find that there is a lot of sentiment in terms of, you know, marketing and advertising agencies, kind of overpromising, and I thought that was something that I didn't really see from you from the beginning. I remember even on our sales call and our initial meeting, you never threw out, like, you weren't throwing figures at me like, "Hey man, we're going to make millions together." And it was more about, it was more directed upon like the specific details of what we're going to do to achieve the goals, as opposed to like over promises and overhyping, the process of getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that a lot. A lot of people they promise these results instead of like focusing on, well, what are you actually going to do for us? Like, how are we going to solve these problems? Um,
Exactly.
what was your mindset regarding working with us at the beginning?
Yeah, I thought that just kind of like as a physician, you think of like an assessment and a plan, you think of a problem, you think of, okay, here's, you know, what this patient presents with, here's the issues at hand, and here's the workup we need to do, here's how to diagnose it, and here's how to treat it. And I just felt like with you guys think of things like very much a lot like I do, very surgical in terms of thought process, almost like a medical diagnostic and plan management program where I felt like you guys were like, all right, well, here's the diagnosis, here's the problems with what you're doing. You don't have any, you don't really have any high value content on your Instagram. Like nobody's going to come to you as an authoritative figure or someone that is providing value without any content. So you guys, immediately fixed that. We made a podcast together. We got high value content on there that people can go and, directly learn something from it. And then from there, it kind of builds into the funnel. And so you kind of just tackled every part of the process in terms of what else do I need to build authority? And from there, it was what do I need to build the sales or build the marketing? And then from there is what do I need to build the sales? And it kind of all started to flow, towards the end in that time period that kind of you expected, which was about 3 months. And by the end of 3 months, I'm far more confident, not just in marketing and sales, but also in business savviness.
Yeah. Do you feel like you'd be able to hire a marketing agency a lot better now
Um,
if you ever decided to hire one?
I think it'd be harder because I'd have pretty high standards. I'd be like, I don't know, man. I think I need to hit up my boy Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be harder for sure.
Yeah. Well, you just know what to look through now and look for, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Somebody who solves problems instead of just, yeah, I think it's like over promising. It's like, how are we going to solve these exact problems that I'm going to run into in my business or that I might be experiencing right now in my business? Like, what's the actual plan?
Right.
So what were the specific results that you got with us?
So in terms of like, numbers and figures, it's hard to kind of remember every specific detail. But I mean, kind of some of the examples I can give you, just real life, real patient examples is um, just, you know, 5 to 10 people. And this is even when my ads aren't running, because when I'm trying different things, there's periods of time where I'm, not running the ads, that I might have 5 or 10 people just hit me up and say like, "Hey, I saw your videos. Like, I want to, where are you located? I want to see you." Or like, "Oh, I saw your video on GLP-1s. Like, I love that you're more focused on the holistic, the holistic care. And so I want you to do my GLP-1. I've been looking for somebody to do my Ozempic. I've been looking for somebody to do my testosterone. I want you to do it." But a lot of the organic leads that I'm getting, even, without the ads, has come from the ability to kind of implement all these strategies into my socials, into my funnel, into my web, my web pages, for example. So that's kind of just some of the examples of things that we've done in terms of the actual ads. I mean, yeah, like when my ads are running, I'm getting dozens of leads, just channeling through the CRM. And then when I'm getting those, and I now know how to communicate with them, what's the best strategies, sending them trust assets, sending them testimonials and different types of videos that might help them with their questions that they have preemptively, as opposed to waiting several days where their interest might decline over time. And that's kind of where learning about how all the sales stuff is just as important. So it's not, you can't have one without the other. And so having the marketing knowledge, having the sales knowledge, and just seeing it all come to fruition has been huge.
Yeah. So, would you say that you're happy with the investment?
Yeah, more than happy. I mean, the value that I got out of it was far more than the value of the investment. So, I mean, if you look at it just from the numbers standpoint there, yes. And then if you look at it in terms of long-term growth, I mean, these are strategies, learning, for example, learning how to use AI. So, like being at probably the top, going from the bottom 10 percentile of people using AI to like maybe the top 10, 20 percentile of people
Yeah.
using AI just from using your strategies. I mean, that's going to be the way of the future. We already know now that AI is the future. And so if you're not adapting to the future. And if you're not adapting to AI, you're pretty much going to be left in the dust compared to your competitors. And I learned that pretty quickly from you, and then not just learning it, but also showing us how to implement it into our funnel, into our sales strategy, into our ads, into our scripts. There's no way I would have been able to do that, especially not at that level of expertise without your guidance. And so it's when you talk about the value is going to be something that far into the future is going to continue paying off because I'm going to keep using these skills for probably the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So I know a lot of people can be like super skeptical before joining. What would you say to them?
I would say, I mean, look, being skeptical is normal. Anytime, in fact, I think that people aren't skeptical. A lot of times are stupid. But so, you're going to do your research. You're going to probably interview a couple different ad agencies. You're probably going to see a lot of different ads for other ad agencies. But I would say the initial call that you have with them is just really important. What type of a vibe are you getting from this person? Is it like a pushy sales call, or is it more of a diagnostic systems based approach in terms of like how we're going to tackle your issues? Do they want to hear about, I think I noticed with you guys, with you, Daniel, specifically, is, you spend a lot of time in the first call, like learning about my experience with my prior ad agencies. And, you wanted to make sure I didn't have those experiences again. And then you listened about all the challenges I'm having with my business and the different things that are and aren't working. And so I could already tell from the beginning that without, being overly pushy, you were more focused on kind of what does this person, need? What can I offer him? How can I help him? And that type of a feeling of, someone wanting to actually help you. It's something I'm used to. It's part of what we do, in medicine. And so it just kind of vibe more with what I was trying to do. So my advice would be that first call, get a feel for the person, see how they're, responding to your questions, see if they actually sound like they care, and if they actually give you maybe an idea of a plan or what they want to do, as opposed to maybe just trying to get you to sign up. Because most ad agencies are just going to try to get you to sign up right away without, talking to you about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So then from your perspective, what makes us different compared to every other one of these companies on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said kind of earlier, that you might, even if you get a really good ad agency elsewhere, with Daniel, you're gonna get a really good ad agency. You guys, a really good team is gonna build you a really strong funnel, a really good offer. He's gonna help you with the offer to kind of make a really good offer, help you launch the ads, teach you along the way in terms of not just launching your ads and doing everything without you knowing what's going on. Kind of show you every part of the funnel that he's creating, how to do it physically, literally help you understand what you need to do to create those things in the future if you want to do it yourself. And then on top of that, teaching you, giving you the business tools that you need to be able to, not just get the ads going, but actually build the entire system behind it to make sure that the ads continue to work for you, that the sales continue to work for you. And then beyond the scope of advertising and sales, helping you in your business in terms of other things that you might be able to add in your business, right? Um, Aside from marketing and sales. Those are the parts of the value that I got that I didn't expect and that you probably won't get from another marketing agency.
Yeah. Now, when you first started working with us, you probably weren't sure if this was going to work. So if you could go back in time and give yourself, one piece of advice when you were thinking of working with us, what would you say to yourself?
I would say that it's not going to be easy. Like just knowing and learning and understanding that there's always going to be road bumps. There's always going to be hiccups. I mean, if you're willing to go through challenges and difficulties, then you're willing to be an entrepreneur. And if you're not, then you're not. And that's just the way it is. And that's the bottom line. And I think if anybody thinks it's going to be a walk in the park, even with a great ad agency, I mean, we had our hurdles, we had our issues with some of our ads that got flagged by Meta and whatnot. Um, but you know what? I love that you had the kind of like tough love approach. You said, you know what, that happened. We're gonna make new ones, and then we made new ones, and then those ones worked. And so, whenever there's an issue or like there's a setback in business, it's nice to have a coach. It's nice to have somebody who advocates for you and your business and what you believe in, and isn't gonna ever throw the towel and give up. I remember specifically with Daniel, there was a couple hurdles that we had to overcome, but he always supported me, pushed me through. gave me the guidance and support that I needed to get over those hurdles together, and eventually come up with a plan that worked. So that's kind of the biggest thing is even with the great agency, if you think it's gonna be a walk in the park, that someone's just gonna hold your hand, do everything for you, and you're gonna start making millions. Just news for me that I learned is that it does still take a lot of hard work, and it takes perseverance, dedication, and you got to be able to sit through the tough days and say, I'm not doubting myself. I still
Yeah.
believe in what I'm doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, entrepreneurship 101. So
The
part of the
most
course,
competitive sport in the world for a reason.
part of the course brought to you by Daniel Walton, patient acquisition. So I
So
appreciate
lastly,
that.
what would you say is the biggest thing holding most people back from taking the leap of faith, or what would you recommend to them?
Honestly, I would say a big part of it is just the bad rep that in the industry. There's just a lot of, like I said, the first example I had with my first ad agency was a bad experience. And so, you hear about these experiences, they become things that people talk about, and then people start saying stuff like, you don't need ads, you just need to have a good social media presence. Don't do ads, this and that. So I think people have a bad experience, they talk about it, this, word spreads about it. So people are going to be hesitant based on what they hear, but what they don't hear about is the fact that, if you want people to be exposed to your brand, there's really no better way to have somebody exposed to your brand other than ads. I
Yeah,
mean, literally, they're going to be forced in front of them and they have no option but to watch 1 or 2 seconds of it before they click away, right? And so
right.
it's like there's nothing you can do organically that is going to be that effective, even if you do go viral. Every now and then I'm sure that happens, but nothing works as good as an ad in front of your face. And so
Yeah,
I realized that once I got them going, that I was just started getting dozens of leads, and I'm like, there's no way. I don't care how much I spend on SEO and how much I spend on organic content that it would translate to dozens of leads without ads. It's just not going to
hmm,
happen.
yeah,
So realizing that and
yeah.
learning that was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something I see a lot of people just not sure of for all the reasons you mentioned. They have bad reps, possibly, or bad experiences, possibly, or they've heard from somebody else who had a bad experience and they think that like SEO or organic, but they just take so long to see the return on investment from. And also, those are just very technical skills that also require a lot of work and perseverance to push through, except the return
Mhm.
on investment is going to be months from now instead of like immediately you're going to get a pipeline full of leads.
Yeah.
So, my final question, which I'd love to end on, what would you say to someone that's thinking about hopping on a call with us to learn more about the program, or somebody who might be thinking about joining?
Yeah, I mean, you really have nothing to lose to hop on a call and have start the conversation. I remember our first call was, to be honest, very informational. I mean, I got a lot out of that call. There's a lot of things that you helped me diagnose, right away with the prior agency I was working with that I had issues with, and kind of talked about, hey, like, you know what, one thing you guys didn't do was get your logistics certification. You need to get that going. And that was something that even from our first call, I got so much value out of it because I started the logistic process and I started the expedited process because I knew how important that was for my telehealth company. And so if I hadn't had that call, I wouldn't have even checked. I don't know if you remember, but we checked in to see if the prior company even submitted the app, which they told
Yeah,
me they
I
did,
do.
and they hadn't even submitted it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just from day
I mean, that's what I
one,
told you on the call, right? Was like, I
yeah,
don't
you're
think
like,
they've done
you're like,
what
I
they
would
said they
probably make
did.
sure. And if I hadn't had that call, I wouldn't have ever double checked, and I wouldn't have ever had my logistics certification. Fast forward, I wouldn't be able to run ads. So, I mean, that was I guess, an introductory call. You had no reason to give me all that value, but that's just something that I got from just talking to you for, 20, 30 minutes. So there's not much downside to hopping on a call with somebody who is an expert, who's going to be, I mean, no matter what, like you're going to be better than anyone I know that I'm going to talk to about ads, right? So if you're talking to somebody who's an expert, you're going to get something out of it, and hopefully you guys build a relationship together. But worst case scenario, you'll probably gain something informative from it. So nothing to lose there at all.
Wow. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate the time.